up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Appreciate you for all joining in. Truly appreciate it. Thank you for all the kind words. Thank you, Russ. I seen you put that in there. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Again, guys, thank you so very much for being so patient here as I went through some personal stuff. And yeah, it's life. It's life, my friends. So what can you do? It sucks, but yeah, you're right, Russ. They only see the good in us, man. That is true. That's so very true. I never really thought about it that way. They do only ever see the good in us. And that is definitely something cool that only grandmas can do, my friend. What's up, Devin? We're going to ease back into this thing, my friends. Still not feeling the best. Kind of just blah. Just got done basketball practicing with the kids. So, yeah, we're rolling. Thank you, Danny. Good to see you, my friend. But we're back, guys. But life happens sometimes. So sometimes you got to take a little bit of a break. Sometimes you got to handle life and do all that kind of stuff. But it is what it is, man. We're going to dive into a lot of stuff here, man. I agree with what you're saying there, Russ. Definitely, I see all your comments there. He is very coachable. I would probably do 2, but I mean, 3 years is what it is. As long as they do something to where they could get out of the back end of it, that's where I would want to be, to where you could get out of the back end if need be, and if he does hit and, becomes that guy you want to keep for the long term, you go ahead and you tear that thing up and you redo it, So make there be some outs in that back end of that deal. You don't want that back end of the deal to be fully guaranteed or in any way and chain you to somebody that you're not 1,000% sure of. Because let's be honest, they're quite frankly not 1,000% sure. But the Steelers in that building right now seem to be highly optimistic about getting a deal done with Justin Fields. That seems to be the general consensus within that building. Also, they did sign a tight end, but guys, I got to caution you about moves right now at this part of the season. They mean nothing. And I hate to say that. Pre-free agency, some of these moves that are made, these one-year weird deals with guys like Donald Fram, they mean nothing. They mean absolutely nothing. They're usually just filler moves. And I like to make sure that I emphasize that to people because I believe this fan base sometimes jumps a little overboard when they make these types of moves. But a lot of the times when they make these moves with some of these players, you won't see them when it comes time to making a roster. When it comes time to, really trying to get this thing rolling when the regular season hits. You're not going to see some of these players. They may even be stashed on a practice squad. You just don't know. And again, a lot of these moves are nothing. And again, nothing to be overly hype about. Now, I'm not saying a player that you sign now can't develop and can't hit and can't become something. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is I have to caution you on these moves. This guy that was just signed, a tight end, former Charger, Los Angeles Charger. I always want to say San Diego Chargers. I grew up in the San Diego Charger era. So definitely always want to say that. But this guy is not a move of significance. And again, could he provide depth later down the road? Quite possibly, yes. But is it possible that he's just not going to even be around? More than likely, yes. Those are the way these moves work. Definitely. Let's get back into the chat just to see what is going on. Yes, Voidable. Yeah, man, you can't guarantee. If you do 3 with Justin, you can't guarantee that third. I could see you guaranteeing the first 2. Especially if they're under that $15 million mark. Say they're at the $10 million mark. Like similar to a Mitchell Trubisky deal a couple years ago. As a means to an end, or, again, signing Justin is like a dice roll, guys. You have the opportunity that he could possibly stick and be the guy. And, there's another 50% chance that he's just a bridge guy till you get a guy from the 2026 draft ready. Or maybe even a guy from this draft that you get luckily in the 3rd round or the 4th round. And, by some slim chance due to injury or something, he finds himself inside of the lineup, performs pretty well, and starts to gather that momentum like a young Ben Roethlisberger did back in the day. Now, Ben Roethlisberger was a lot higher pedigreed player, taken a lot higher in the draft than anybody would take a guy right there this year. So definitely, it's just a crapshoot, my friends. It's just a crapshoot. Definitely. Let's keep going here. Ryan, what's up? How does Daniel Jones How about I don't like the Daniel Jones move. I just don't. If it happens, it happens. Again, guys, you got to have plan A, B, C, D. And it may not work. Plan A may not work. Plan A being Justin Fields, at least that's how I see it. Maybe plan A doesn't work. You got to have plan B. And if you don't have plan A, B, C, D, E, F in this league, you're screwing yourself. You have to make sure you have outs. And that's the name of the game. If you're going to be a general manager of significance, a general manager of high quality, you have to have yourself some outs. And if you don't have that, you're screwing yourself. You have to give yourself some opportunity to go other directions. You can't nail yourself down. And I think that's where the Steelers went wrong last offseason when they were talking about wide receiver. They nailed themselves down to a player or two, and they never went and really got active. They never gave themselves, the 6 different options that could have possibly been out there. Instead of maybe waiting so long for a guy like Christian Kirk, maybe you get him before he gets injured there, and then that doesn't happen. You never know. Instead of just being so highly ultra laser focused on Brandon Ayuk, knowing the longer and longer that thing drags out, the more shady the deal becomes anyway. The more you know that guy probably wants to stay where he's at. Those things all got to run through your head as a general manager, definitely. Let's keep going. And as far as Daniel Jones, I just don't like it. And sorry, Ryan, I kind of got off of it. I just don't like that Daniel Jones thing, in my opinion, because I just don't think that he shows me enough. But, would I be totally flipped out and pissed if they brought Daniel Jones in? No, I wouldn't be. Why? Because I think Daniel Jones could maybe be something somewhere in a different system. Maybe. But again, when you're playing for some of these franchises that have been in a real tumultuous period of their history, it's tough to gauge the players that are coming from there because you're doubting that team's schematics. You're doubting that team's just overall compass of which direction they're going in. And it's hard to gauge a player off of what they did there. It's just really tough. When you're getting players from bad teams, it's very, very difficult to gauge the direction in which that player's headed. It definitely is. And it's not as easy as just, oh, I know it. And I know a lot of fans act like we all do, myself included sometimes. We all act like, hey, we know definitively what's going. No, we don't. There's a lot of variables that are at play here, and a lot of variables that we discount continually. So you just got to look at the overall picture and see how it goes. Where was Sleeping Lady? Was right there. Glad you're back. Thank you, man. Thank you, Sleeping Lady. I appreciate that. Yeah, guys. Thank you for bearing with me with that. That was not unexpected. I'll just talk about it real quick, get it out of the way. She had been sick for a very significant period, I would call it, of time. Decline, definitely. So it wasn't something that just floored you. It was something unexpected. That wasn't the case. But still, it happened. It sucked. It is what it is. I needed a couple days, definitely. And it's just sometimes, somebody you had around you your whole life just sucks, when they're gone. But, yeah, you can't dwell on it too long because it just drives you crazy. Yeah, but thank you guys. I appreciate all the prayers, all the well wishes, the understanding, and definitely, YouTube's a finicky animal. It'll take us a couple of days to get back up to the viewership, as it always does. But we'll get back on again. You guys that are super loyal, truly appreciate that, and we'll get moving, man. But let's not waste no time. We're going to continue to talk Steelers here. We're going to continue to talk the direction of how this offseason has to go. Again, they made that move for the tight end. Is it a significant move? No. Could it be? Maybe. You never know, guys. These moves are just something that you can't get overly hype about. You can't get overly low. It's just something you got to kind of see how it all plays out. Downtown John Broadway. What's up, my friend? Good to see you. Thank you. Colin Smith, how would you feel about us trading for Deebo Samuel or Cooper Kupp? I wouldn't feel great because I just don't know how those guys fit into the system. What do you give up? Both great players. Could they both potentially be very awesome players for the Steelers? Absolutely. Chances are probably. They're very good. But still, nonetheless, what do you got to give up? What's the significance of what you're giving up versus what that player is going to bring to your franchise? That's the question you have to ask yourself. And would I be overly pumped? Yeah, I mean, I'd be pumped. Why? Because they're big name players. So I wouldn't be pissed about it. I'd be like, yeah, cool, dude. They're great players. Hopefully they can contribute. They got to have somebody who can throw them the football, though, too. So definitely you find yourself in a very awkward situation here if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers because you're rolling the dice when you're bringing in. Thank you, Steelers Almighty. Thank you, Big B. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. I just seen your comment roll down there. Appreciate you, man. But you're in a very unique situation here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, not unique. Other teams face this too, so it's not unique. But you find yourself in a situation that is what? You are going into a season. Perhaps you bring Justin Fields back. We'll say that's best case scenario. We'll say that's plan A. You bring back Justin Fields. You don't know what you fully have in him yet. So are you willing to go out into free agency and really just shoot for the moon, or not even in free agency, shoot for the moon in a trade to where you give up significant draft capital, significant financial obligation? Are you willing to do that with a player that you're not 1,000% sold on yet? Now, free agency is different because it's typically just what, guys? Financial obligation. Perhaps you tailor a deal that you can get yourself out of. Smart GMs always have a way to get out of their deals, always have a way to cover up and figure out how to sweep the money under the rug. It's a fictitious number. We know that. So there are ways. Bad GMs don't. Bad GMs make bad deals to where they're paying out their nose. But you find yourself in that spot to where making a trade may not make sense, guys. And I think everybody has to understand that in the fan base right now. Making a trade may not be the way to go because you may not want to give up some of the things that you could utilize to bring in some other young talent through the draft that you're not going to pay through the nose for, that you can roll the dice for on a cheaper path. You're going down a cheaper path with those guys. So maybe not going out there and making trades is the right answer for 2025. Maybe free agency and the draft is your direction this year as opposed to significant, high-value, monster-type trades for guys that you don't even know if you're going to even be able to utilize. That's the real question I think that gets overlooked a lot because we can all sit here and speculate about 1,000,001 different deals. I could sit here and come up with 1,000 different deals that we can make for, a bunch of different wide receivers or a bunch of different players in general. But does that make sense for this franchise's direction? Because you have to understand where they are currently right now in their progression in building this roster. Because, guys, we have to be quite frank about it, my friends. This roster isn't one player away from winning a Super Bowl. This roster isn't one player away from being in the AFC Championship game. It's just not. Is it a bad roster? Hell no, it's not a bad roster. But is it a roster that's one player away? The answer is no. They have holes that they have to fill, the significant ones, and one being the first and foremost, and that is the quarterback position. So let's keep going here, guys. Sleeping Lady, I hope they get all the biggest, baddest dudes. This team is too soft. I love how the Eagles had dudes on their line who punch you in the face now and again. Absolutely good to see you, Sleeping Lady. Yeah, you got to have that physical nature up front, and that's what Mike Tomlin wants. He wants that I'll beat your ass type attitude. And the Steelers, let's be honest, haven't had that mantra, that attitude going out onto the field each and every week. It hasn't felt like the black and blue Steelers of the old. They just haven't. They haven't felt that way for about a decade to me. They have not felt that way, and it's definitely been something very troublesome here and concerning, considering the brand of football that Mike Tomlin wants to play, my friends. It's a smash mouth brand, and he hasn't had that smash mouth unit out there. You've had Najee Harris, who is a downhill runner, out there trying to be Barry fucking Sanders or Le'Veon Bell, and that's not the way it goes, when you don't have the personnel to play that smash mouth game. Why do you have the smash mouth personnel in the back? I guess if you're going to play more finesse and schematic type football, then you got to do those things well, and they didn't. So let's keep going. GOAT Steelers running back, in your opinion? My man Barry Foster. That was my favorite running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Don't ask me why. It's my most enjoyable runner, man, with his Reebok high top shoes. Number 29, just ripping, dude. That might be a little bit too old for some of you guys out there. But Barry Foster was my guy. I grew up loving Barry Foster, man. Also, another player that I really loved in the backfield for the Pittsburgh Steelers was the guy that we had on this program, Merrill Hodge. I loved it, man. I loved watching Merrill play. I don't know why. Those guys just were a couple of my favorites. Now, have there been better Steeler runners? Absolutely. But what they were my guys. I like those guys. I like the bus too. But Barry Foster, Merrill, those were my guys. Merrill was that transitional guy out of the Chuck Noll era. That guy for me anyway. So definitely love those players. Danny George, usually the first signings are not productive like Van and Allen. Yeah, usually. And that's what I'm saying. It's not every time. It's not every time, but it's usually. That's why I just caution people. Don't get too crazy over them. Don't get too hype about them. Definitely just be cautious. See how it plays out. See how it goes. It could go either way. It's a 50-50 coin flip. Aiden the GOAT, go Browns. Steelers Almighty, Big B says, I liked Fram. I always say, I may be pronouncing his name wrong, guys, but having height doesn't help you if you don't throw it to him, i.e. Washington. Definitely. You had a big body guy at the tight end spot, a big, tall monster guy, and you still got him, Darnell Washington. If you're not going to use that to your advantage, does it matter? It doesn't. Absolutely not. And I don't dislike this guy that they signed either, so I have to agree there. You got to use what you got. And again, if you're not going to use them, man, what a waste. And I thought Darnell Washington was a significant waste this season. Wow, did they not utilize a guy that could have been a really dominant down low, like great rebounders in the NFL or in the NBA. Guys that can just box out, guys that can just be ultra physical and be very, very just dominant in 50-50 type situations, and they never really took advantage of it. You saw him rip up the seam occasionally using his size and athleticism. They just weren't able to effectively utilize him, nor did he see the snaps and passing situations that you would have probably liked, in my opinion. I think you could have used those double tight end sets and really tried to utilize everybody in the pass routes, and typically Darnell's a guy that's going to block, But man, I would have liked to seen him utilized a little bit more in the passing game. I'd have loved to seen Pat Freiermuth used a little bit more, to be honest. But we didn't get to see that, and it was definitely something that was very troublesome, and something the Steelers really need to pay attention to, because in this league, you can be really dominant utilizing the tight end position. And you've seen the Chiefs do it for years. When they get Travis Kelce cooking, they can be ultra dominant. Why? Because if you have a solid tight end, or even a couple tight ends that can just do it all, that they have all the things that you want out of a tight end, you can utilize them in every situation. And the Steelers really need to figure out how to utilize those tight ends. And I thought that might have been the most disappointing thing about the Arthur Smith experiment thus far, is a guy that comes in highly recognized for his usage of tight ends and how he incorporates them into the offense. And I felt like he failed in a massive way at getting those guys involved. All right, guys, make sure you're double tapping that screen, hitting that like button for us here on Steel City Live. Let me grab a drink. Let's keep going. Entanglement Shiva, Big B's in the house. It's Curry. My other phone died. What's up, Za? Must be nice to have double phones, bro. That's baller status, Za. Danny George, we did that. Kansas City Chiefs is better. Let me keep going, guys. Guys, also, I'm going to apologize now if I'm not my normal wild self a little bit. Yeah, I'm getting back in it. Oh, thank you. Devin Burkett, do you think T-Law is a worthy possibility for a first and GP and perhaps some fillers? Not sure. I'd sell the farm for T-Law. The Steelers need more than one piece, but the QB is the crown jewel. Yeah, one piece, at the quarterback position is a piece that you could give up a lot, but it has to be the right guy, It has to be the right guy. And when you sell the farm for anybody that's at the quarterback position, you got to be sure. You got to be sure. Or otherwise you got to go out there in the draft and figure it out. And the Steelers, let's be honest, all their quarterbacks that have been ultra successful and won Super Bowls, well, both of them have been guys they got through the draft. And that's just kind of where it's been. And that's where you're typically going to find them. Does GP warrant a first-round draft pick? No. I got to be honest with you guys. Nobody's going to give a first-round draft pick for GP. It's just not going to happen. It's just not. I could see maybe as high as a later second, maybe an early second. I doubt it. I just don't see a team giving up a first. I don't. Because teams are going to wonder why you're trying to get rid of the guy that's supposed to be your franchise wide receiver. And that's going to put making him a little bit tainted, to be frank. Sco 6 Trey, Aaron Glenn, the Jets will offer Fields a long-term contract, giving Fields the stability he seeks. They might. Again, guys, I've warned you, there's going to be suitors. But according to many surrounding the organization, Justin Fields' representation, the Steelers, they're very optimistic that this is going to get done. Both sides have significant interest, and I definitely could see a deal getting done. I'm going to just shoot it out there to you guys. I foresee Justin Fields 2 years, $10 million to $15 million, in that range, each season, fully guaranteed, just 2 years. And again, I foresee the Steelers really making a monster run at somebody in 2026 in the draft if Justin doesn't pan out. And Justin's going to have 1 year under center as the guy, with nobody looking over his shoulder, nothing. And if he's not able to get it done there and show significant growth, I look for the Steelers to really make a run at somebody in 2026 and be ultra aggressive and really try to grab somebody. Devin, we did that. Robert Road in the house. What's up, Robert? Danny Dimes is a lesser Fields 2.0. I don't believe either will ever be a franchise quarterback. Build the team for 2 or 3 years out, hopefully with a legitimate quarterback. Yeah, and I think that's kind of where you're at. But again, the reason I really think Fields is the option is because, man, it just gives you that flexibility to do what Robert says, 2 to 3 years out, build that team. And still, you're rolling the dice. You got a chance, chances are it probably doesn't work out, but it might, it may. And if it does, awesome. If it doesn't, you have options. You can figure it out. And 2026, I think, is the path. In Pittsburgh, the draft, go after it, put together what you got to do to get it done. Black and Gold, nice to see you tonight. Up and going. Thank you, man. What are your expectations this season as fans, as a team and organization moving forward? What should we see as improvements to be top contenders again? You got to get back to being to playing Steeler football. And I know a lot of people say that's corny and cliche to say Steeler football, but Steeler football has been a culture, has been played a certain way. And again, I think you need to get back to that. And I'm not saying it has to be the old school way, but what I mean by Steeler football is being able to adapt, being able to overcome, having people in the building that are about the team, not just about themselves, about the team and about the culture and about that city and about having that work ethic to just do the right things and bust your ass. That's what I call the Steeler way. And I think they need to seek that with the group that they just continue to build here. I think that has to be your focus. And I think Mike Tomlin has to either learn to adapt or move over and understand that what he's doing is dated and damaging. And he has to understand that as a man. And he can't continue to do things the same way. That's what I'm looking for. My expectations for the team, though, and what I see them doing is I see another mediocre year. I see another year of us talking about the same type of things. I see a year at best with another early playoff exit. But I see a future. I see paths to get out of this. I see ways that they can make this thing click again. Are they able to do that? Will they do that? That's the question, guys. And that all depends on Mike Tomlin. That depends on the franchise. Are they going to, sit back and continue to watch this shit show, this clown show that Mike Tomlin's put out there for everybody to laugh at? Mediocre schematics, unwillingness to change, just a bunch of lip service. Is he willing to step up and change? That's the question. And I thought 2024 was going to be the year Mike Tomlin changed. I had high hopes. I talked about it all summer. I said to myself, and I said to you guys, I think Mike's going to change. I think this is the year. I thought he was bringing in people that were going to challenge him schematically. I thought he was going to bring in people, or was bringing in people that were going to push the envelope and try to be different and new. I thought the players that they were bringing in was becoming exciting, I thought they still need to make some moves, but, as the summer went on, as the season went on, those moves were never made. And it turned out that nobody challenged him, and it was still the same old, and it was still just Mike Tomlin. and the same shit that we've been seeing for year after year. But again, I think that there are improvements that can be made to be contenders again. You got to find a quarterback that's going to be there. You can't have a different guy under center every year and expect to be contenders. You got to get some stability at the position of quarterback. But yet you got to continue to build this roster in the right direction to where you could have average to good quarterback play and still be able to make some noise and not get your ass kicked in the first round of the playoffs. But you can't keep flip-flopping quarterbacks every year. Stability at the quarterback position has to be the real answer. And again, I know it's difficult. Franchise quarterbacks just don't grow on trees. But this flip-flopping year in and year out, just trying to Band-Aid the position doesn't work. And the results are shining through. But you know what, guys? Mike Tomlin's had a franchise quarterback before, and the results were the same then, too. Just saying. So I don't know. Maybe a franchise quarterback doesn't change it. It makes you wonder. Because let's just say this. Ben wasn't shitty, every year that Mike Tomlin possessed him. And let's just say this. Ben didn't start getting kind of shitty until probably 3 years from the end. That's when Ben wasn't Ben. But what about the 7, 8 years prior to that, they didn't really win anything. They didn't really do anything. They weren't competing for Super Bowls, and you had a franchise quarterback. I don't know. Let me get a drink again, guys. Yeah, man, I agree, Russ. Thank you. Steelers shine chicken parm, nice. I don't want to see these 30 to 32-year-old wide receiver get used. I love Garrett Wilson. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to get old at any position. No doubt about it. All right, guys, we're going to start winding it down. My first show back, I'm just going to go about a half hour. Takes a couple days for my voice to get back into it when I had 2 days off of live shows. So we will be back again tomorrow and do something. So I wanted to get on, get alive, get my voice going again. That's why I had the big cup of water. The old WVU people in the cup. That's from the stadium years ago when I took my son. Yeah, we went to a women's basketball game that night. But anyway, so I wanted to get on, get back in the saddle, get my feet wet again, be able to do it and get moving. But we're back. And again, thank you for all the loyal listeners that definitely hopped back in, got my feet wet again here after a couple days, and we'll be rolling again full tilt tomorrow. But I needed this. It was therapeutic to get on, but yet I don't want to be on for an hour and 15 minutes like I normally am. So I thought a half hour would be great. Thank you. What's up, Miss P? Thank you. Thank you, Russ. But yeah, guys, we'll be back hot and heavy. It'll take a couple before we get rolling back again. But tomorrow night, we'll be hot and heavy. We'll go for the hour, maybe even more. Yeah, thank you, guys. And thank you again for all the well wishes. Thank you for all the condolences, all that stuff. I appreciate it very much. But life goes, man. And we just got to roll with the punches. So until tomorrow. I'm Jason. This is Mike Drop Sports. Thank you again to everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow. And if you have anything you want to talk about, shoot the email, MikeDropSports@yahoo.com. You can let us know if there's topics you want to discuss, anything like that. Shoot the email, and I'd be happy to do that kind of stuff. Also, guys, I think I figured out how to get the messenger working again for the Facebook page. So if you're not subscribed to our Facebook page or follower there, go and follow that. We're trying to build that platform. Also, X, you can follow us there. And I'm trying to still figure out the other ones, but we'll see what happens, man. So thank you again. See you tomorrow.